Hi guys, in this video you have a little bit of an overview of how you might use this folio to complete your work. So this video is explaining a little bit about the folio, but each task is going to have its own video as well, explaining what you need to do. So this folio is where you're going to put all your work around what you do to create your game design. So you can see and read through, and it will give you the instructions, all the instructions that you need. These areas that are highlighted in yellow are areas that you need to fill in. So it explains this at the bottom of the first page as well. You complete all the sections that are highlighted in yellow. Once they are complete, you can just leave them. But when the teacher has come and checked on it, on your work, they will highlight it in green. So let's say you put your name in Bob. Now, we're probably not going to just check your name because we can see your name up here. We will turn it into green once we've checked it. So, as you can see, the task is split into different parts. But first, I'm going to go through this area here because this is really important for you to understand this in order to design your game. So the design brief is something that you would have seen either in design tech or in art, but it's basically the instructions or what is expected from you. So we've given you a bit of a scenario. In this scenario, a software development company, so a company that creates apps and things like that, has employed you to design and propose a game that can be marketed to young people between the ages of 12 and 14. Don't have to worry too much about the age. It's more people your age. So when I say design and propose, clearly it's not saying their code a game. It is not saying that at all. It is saying design and propose. You may choose to code a little bit of the game, but that is not necessarily what you need to do with this task. It's more about designing it. It's a concept. So you are required to create or produce an app concept, which we'll explain later, some early design ideas for the app, as well as an example of how users might use the app. And you'll see how that looks further in the folio. The game you design needs to be interesting and appealing for young people. Now, you've got these three things that you need to consider as well. That's what we want you to create. Essentially, it's saying create a game for people your age. And you need to have the design, you need to have an idea, and you need to have a basic explanation of how it would work. Constraints. So these are the things that are going to limit how much you can do. It's saying here that your app needs to be obviously relevant for people around your age, but also needs to include some kind of story. So you can't have just a game of, just a random game of this person walking down the street or something like that. Every game, even a game like Crossy Road up here, has an element of a story. It doesn't have to be like a full-on story. It just needs to be about something and what they're trying to do. So this is about a chicken trying to cross not just a road, but rivers and everything like that to get the highest score possible. That's the kind of story I'm talking about here. And it must be simple in design because you've got to make it, if you ended up making it, it needs to be something that can be made in MakeCode Arcade, so what you've been using before. And the reason we're doing that is if you get to make them, in the long run, we'd want to use one of these devices here to actually play it. So that's not something you have to focus on now, but it's just something you need to keep in mind. So maybe when you're creating your game design or you're trying to show how it might work, you actually might want to open up a new project. I'm going to open up an existing project and actually code a little bit of it and then provide me a screenshot of this, because this actually is showing me how the app might work, how the app design works, how the program might work. It doesn't have to be complex, obviously. It just needs to be something, as you can see, it's not a massively complex design. So you might want to actually use MakeCode Arcade, not necessarily the code, but definitely to create your screenshots and things like that. And I'll show you how to do that in another video. And that's obviously your requirements as well. You must, when you're creating the game design, keep in mind that it needs to, if it were to be created, it needs to be created using this program. Some things you need to consider is you can base your game on another game. For example, you could make a different version of you could make a game like Crossy Road, because obviously Crossy Road is actually based on a game from the 80s called Frogger. That's the original. I don't know why this guy's turned up on my screen. Oh, because I wrote Froggers. Frogger game. Here we go. This is more. This game here, Frogger. This is the original game that obviously has now been borrowed upon and updated to be modern, I guess, and use this character and things like that. But if you actually look at the original game, you can see it's very basic. This used to be on an arcade machine. It did have sound, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. You can see the concept of the design is exactly this. The concept of the game is pretty much the same. So I'm happy for you to do that. But you cannot just make a different version of the game. So you can't just make Crossy Road but set in Melbourne, or some other thing like that. It needs to be a new game, but it can be based on an existing game. All right. And then, obviously, as you go through the project, you've got different parts. You'll start with your ideas, and you'll create a profile for your app store, for the app store. You'll answer some questions around it. You might talk about the different types of things your app that you can do in the game, and then start thinking about some algorithms and creating that one. And then this is where you'll actually show some mock-ups. So you can look at this, I'm going to write that in there actually. So you can either make mock-ups of how the game might look in the first place, or you can actually try and create some design for your game. I'm not too stressed whichever one you use, just as long as you've obviously thought about what it will look like. And then you've got an evaluation at the end. So really, it's not a very complex thing. I want to reiterate in there, no one's asked you to code anything. So, and I say that because I've heard in previous times when they also haven't been asked to code anything, things like, oh, I don't know how to code and things like that. No one's asking you to code. You are just creating an idea for an app design. If you want to code, that is perfectly fine, and obviously will be taken into consideration for your total app design. But this is more about the ideas and understanding how we create apps and things like that. All right. So hopefully that explains things. You can come back to this video and learn more about this design if you wish to. Otherwise, the other videos will explain the tasks on an individual basis. So enjoy. I look forward to seeing your app designs, and we shall happy planning, and we shall see your design soon. Bye-bye.